Hey.
Hi.
And we're live.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our show, When It's Convenient, Season 1, Episode 1.
Ow,
Yay.
ow.
Yay.
We're doing this.
So, our show, When It's Convenient, we will be bringing you fun, unapologetic realness, lots of laughs, and most importantly, just lots of positive vibes in this crazy world. So sit back, listen, and get ready to wipe some tears away from the funny we are going to bring you today. First off, we're going to start off with our first segment, Woman Crush Weekly, brought to you by Miss Brittany.
I'm up. So, hey, everybody. I am Brittany, and I'm going to bring you guys our very first Woman Crush Weekly, and it's already heavy and deep, and I didn't do that on purpose, but I was recently reminded of the sharecropper turned activist Fannie Lou Hamer, and so it has to go to nobody. No one do that on purpose. Listen, she is, I don't want to say she's the shit because that sounds a little disrespectful, you know, but like the strength and the resilience of this woman, I swear it stuck with me all week long. Like I just felt her energy around me. So let me give you a little bit about Fannie Lou Hamer if you're not necessarily familiar. She was, like I said, a sharecropper turned activist. She was sterilized against her knowledge in 1961 at a time where they were sterilizing women in the South, trying to really keep the poor population at a certain number, especially in states like Mississippi, which is where she was from. But in 1964, since Charlemagne this week talked about African-American women not creating platforms for themselves, Fannie Lou Hamer in 1964 at the Democratic National Convention was not only able to create a platform for herself, but it wasn't because she had access and opportunity to creating that platform. It was her experience with domestic terrorism that created that platform for her. So she had an experience where she's taking people to this voter education class, and they get stopped, their whole bus, by some white police officers. It's important to note that Fannie Lou Hamer said basically that any white man who could keep his pants held up and hold a gun could be a police officer at that time. So these are the type of men that she's engaging with. And a friend gets pulled off the bus a few minutes later. She goes to see, you know, kind of what the commotion is or what it's about. Her and her friend get taken into jail. And what made the testimony so powerful is her recounting these experiences, talking about being beat, literally senseless, hearing this happen to her friend in a cell next to her, and then white police officers coming to her and telling her, when we're done, you're gonna wish you were dead. There were two African-American men that beat her, one until he was tired, and then that's when the second one took over and beat her and her friend senseless. Nobody was held responsible, nobody was held accountable, but at this Democratic National Convention, Lyndon B. Johnson, because he knew how powerful her platform was and how powerful her voice was, he decided to break in with some impromptu speech that was about nothing so that the rest of the country did not see her testimony. Unfortunately, it was so powerful that that became the story as to why the rest of the country did not see this happen live, that it began to re-air over and over and over again, and people were faced with what domestic terrorism really looks like in the state of Mississippi. She said that this is not America, that it was the land of the tree and the home of the grave, and she used her voice as a Black woman to continue to fight for her people, to fight for her community. Back in 1962, 1964, like the same exact thing that we're fighting for right now, which is equal rights, equal opportunity, she was fighting for back then. So my woman crush she has to be Fannie Lou Hamer. I don't want to say she's the shit because that sounds a little disrespectful, you know. But like, are y'all hearing the feedback?
Yeah.
Where it stuck with me all week long. I wonder where it's coming from.
So that's like a video.
Do I have my Facebook up? Can you guys still hear it?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, we're good. So Fannie Lou Hamer, because of the resilience and the strength of a woman who was beat continuously, who was evicted from her home, who lost her job, all because she was trying to gain the right to vote. And that did not stop her. She took her message across the world to let people know what domestic terrorism looked like here in America. And like I said, her strength and energy was surrounding me all week long. These are the type of African-American women that are creating platforms and have been creating platforms for themselves literally since 1964, Charlamagne. Thanks.
And I'm sure if people don't know her, they know some of her famous quotes, like "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired."
Listen.
But one thing that really stuck out with me is that she said, "White America today doesn't know what in the world to do, because when they put us behind them, that's where they made their mistake. They put us behind them and we watched every move they made." And I think that plays into a part today, because we're still being counted out in society. We're still being looked at as an afterthought. And then there's just going to become a time where we're done. Like, we're going to rise up and just do what Fannie Lou Hamer did.
Absolutely. I mean, women like Fannie Lou Hamer that says, "I'm going to fight for this if it cost me my life."
Right.
Those are the type of women, Black women, that were creating movements for their community, like for their entire state. African-American women did that. Let us not forget the 3 brilliant sisters who created the Black Lives Matter movement. So I just, like I said, in lieu of the recent comments made by Charlamagne tha God, I don't even understand how that comment even left his fingers on Twitter, because African-American women have been creating movements and platforms for themselves since the beginning.
Exactly.
So, Fannie Lou Hamer, our very first Woman Crush Weekly.
Woo! Shout out to her.
That was excellent. That was excellent.
Thanks, guys. Who we got next? Primary colors.
With Jazz.
With Jazz.
And we're going to talk about politics and the national mourning we have been in for the last, 2 months? Month and a half? It's going to last us until January 20th, where then we just, end the world. Welcome to the apocalypse. Revelations predicted this, or was it Nostradamus? I get those things confused, being that I'm not a religious person anymore. So, yes, not us as African-American women.
Oh, we know.
As our white male counterparts at large voted
because if anything, African-American women got out to rock the vote for Hillary.
Shout out to the 94%.
What?
Hey.
Yes. We always like to be on the right side of history. I really don't understand why it's so difficult for our light-skinned brothers and sisters. But
they ain't light skinned.
they're very light skinned. They're very light skinned. They don't like to acknowledge that. They don't like to acknowledge that they too are from Africa. But I digress at this moment. But if you've been under a rock, we have elected reality star and professional con artist Donald J. Duck as president. Oh. I just can't come around to saying the real last name. I just can't get around to it. But something interesting that I found while being sad and, really taking this time to rely on information from other women and their perspective instead of just, the MSNBC and the CNN, I ran into a journalist who talked about, I think it was Rachel Maddow. Oh, she is MSNBC. So cut that whole part out. But she said, this is the best time to improvise. And I see this as an opportunity for us to come together on a more local and mobilizing scale to make some changes that affect us directly. And another thing I participated in was a town hall with Hillary's deputy operations manager. And we talked about women's rights in the workplace and how we can use our opportunity to change those things. And so a few things that we talked about was a conscious bias. Like, we all have a conscious bias of how we view other races and how we view, other genders and so forth. So if we were to go into the workplace and provide training for those conscious bias, maybe we can bring things like sexism and xenophobia down to a minimum. Another thing we talked about is changing maternal leave to parental leave. So we're including fathers into the conversation, because one thing our country does do is if we want some real change, we unfortunately have to get men involved and let them know the importance of women's rights, especially at a time like this where we see a president who is very much a male chauvinist, and in the way that he speaks about women is very troubling. And then the last is, very key for women, and I think it's a conversation piece that's been going on for decades, is that we shouldn't be taxed for our feminine products, and they should actually be provided for free in the workplace.
I agree.
So these are just some options that we can think about outside of also donating more to Planned Parenthood and donating to the ACLU and so on and so forth. So any thoughts from you guys?
Well, I'm actually interested in the conversation of, and maybe, going a little bit into our besides the point conversation, which is going to be our main topic for today, but really what did this election mean to African-American women, and what can we do in the workforce? Because I don't know, I think sometimes, I don't think we forget, I think people forget when you talk about those conscious biases that there is a system in place at your workplace that is not favorable to African-American women. And so for me, it's more important to spend time talking to African-American women, or even women of color, and what they can do in the workforce. Because, and it's no shade to, who was the person that led the talk that you attended?
I don't have her name off tops.
But her position.
She was the deputy operations manager.
I mean, and not to shade that person, but those seem like really big and lofty things. And I think I'm more interested in what can African-American women do that's practical every day. How can we effect change in our own communities with women that look like us, is really the conversation that I want to have. And yes, parental leave, I think that's important, and changing, the way we view that. But again, those are big things. And I think me as an African-American woman, I want to know, what can I do today? What can I do tomorrow? What can I change on my job that will happen somewhat immediately, so that I don't feel the weight and the heaviness of a Trump administration?
Right. I think one of the pieces, and I wrote a piece about this that is going to be on my website, The Brave New Urban, is one of the things women have to do is come together. We can be some of our biggest adversaries. And I think being more supportive of one another is one step, and then also educating our male counterparts on those things that are offensive and those things that are microaggressions, and actually penetrating their idea on us being in leadership and us being taken seriously outside of letting things be passive. Because I do feel in the workforce, we feel that if we ever speak up, the weight of our job is, put aside, that we could lose our job, or we could be seen as the angry Black woman when we don't speak up for ourselves, which I've been in many situations like that. We are told to keep our cool and to not make a scene. Yeah. But I think with the current landscape, we are now allowed to do that just as much as Trump supporters are now allowed to speak their minds. And we have to remind people that we have an opinion and we have a perspective as well. And those are just a couple options that I have. I know that this is a good time to all come together and start brainstorming, because it doesn't just end at speaking what we need.
Fab, what's funny is, like, before you got on to our conversation or to our chat, we were actually talking about the workplace and feeling like sometimes some of the things that said to us, we don't react the way that we want to. Like Issa Rae does, like an Insecure, and whenever one of her coworkers says something that's kind of was microaggression, then her response of what we see, the flashback, or how she sees it, not what she really says. And I was just talking to Zwin and Brittany about that, the fact that when we say something that, or express how we feel, it's like all of a sudden we're the sassy Black girl, or, we're that Black girl that's, oh, she's mad. And it's like, no, I'm not mad. I'm just simply telling you how I feel. Even if I have doing my hands like this, or if I'm talking to you, I'm not upset. If I was angry, but I'm just letting you know that this is something that you need to watch what you're saying to me. in a place of work. So it's just funny how you kind of just brought that up, and that was one of the discussions that Dwayne and Brittany and I were just talking about. And I feel like most Black women go through every day in the workplace.
But I also think that's something that me personally, I've tried to free myself from that. Like, it's not my responsibility to challenge the stereotype that you have of me in your head. If you think I'm angry, if you think I'm always causing a problem, if I had $1 for every time I was the sassy Black girl, you know, it's just not my job anymore to prove you otherwise. And so if I'm doing something that appears angry, well, I'm just going to appear angry that day. Like, I don't know, because it gets so exhausting trying not to be that person, right? Because you're already not that person naturally, but everything you're doing is being perceived as such. And so at this point, I freed myself of that. I don't have to combat your stereotype. I don't have to educate you on why that's not what's taking place. Like, if I have something to say at this point, I'm going to say it. If it's a microaggression, I'm going to call it out. But it can't be my job anymore to continue to prove to you why that's not who I am or why that's not what I'm doing. When the truth of the matter is, after the conversation, you're still going to perceive me as such. And so, as opposed to walking away from a lot of those conversations feeling hurt and upset by the microaggression that took place, I can now find some sense of comfortability that I still said what I had to say, and the way you perceived it and are going to look at me after this is no longer a thought of mine. And I know how that can become problematic, because these might be supervisors. Like, this could be a supervisor, not just a team member or a colleague that's looking at you this way. But like Fannie Lou Hamer, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of trying to educate these fools on the fact that, no, I'm not angry and I'm not sassy. I just want you to hear me and take me seriously. So,
and that's why I think there's like a thin line with speaking your mind in the workplace, but also wanting to keep your job, because like you said, we are tired of having to explain to you and rebel your perception of what our reality is. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And for example, like me, I work in an industry that is dominated by white males. I am the only African American at my job, African American female alone. So it's kind of like, whatever you say to me, I want to say something back, but I also know that I want to keep my job. So
is it worth
the day-to-day battle that you have to go through and trying to figure out your space and how to be yourself, but also how to fit in, I guess, per se, in the culture of your workplace.
Right. And I guess it, like, with us, like, where I work, our environment is pretty social. So the moment you come off with somebody that's not sociable, or someone that, you know, your team doesn't get along with, then it's like, oh, well, you're not a good fit. You know, hard to be like, okay, how do I please you, but then try to please me? Like, okay, I understand once I leave this workplace, you're not coming home with me, but I have to stay here for 8 hours, 9 hours on the day, and try to keep my cool or not, you know, pop off at you.
Right.
And still try to figure out how to do it in the most professional manner that I know how, and then still feel like that you aren't intimidated by me. You know, like, how can you do all that
and get your work done?
Exactly. Absolutely. It's a hard balance, because like most of us, we spend more time with our coworkers, not even trying to entertain them, but just trying to get our work done.
Right.
And the solution to that is put headphones in.
Yes.
No.
Headphones are the key to success in getting your work done.
It doesn't matter.
Productivity
if headphones, like, then you still come up and talk to me. Like, there has to be a headphone etiquette class somewhere that says, if I have my headphones on, don't
bother me.
Talk to me. Don't instant message me. I'm trying to listen to J. Cole right now.
Right.
You're interrupting.
I'm trying to listen to the read.
I'm trying to listen to Read. I'm trying to listen to Brilliant Idiots. And ma'am, can you just wait 30 minutes? And when I get up and go get some more water, then that's when you can talk to me.
Email and Slack are just also amazing products that go along with the headphones. You know, that ignore button is very great. But I think this is important that we have these conversations, but not just amongst ourselves, but with other people.
Absolutely.
Because one of the things that I've noticed is when journalists are speaking with Muslims about their very real fear, they tell them, oh, that's imagined in your head, that's over exaggerated, because we as people of color have learned to suppress those feelings and learn to just carry on with our day and never mentioning how we really feel.
Right.
So for them, they're like, oh, they're fine. Look at him over there doing his work.
Who was that?
That's a whole nother episode.
They'll kill you and say that you enjoyed it. Whose quote is that? Let me do my Googles. Go ahead. I'll be back.
But it's important to have that conversation so they can know this is a very real feeling that we do have about stereotypes and microaggressions and how we're treated in the workplace. It's very real. And so we have to start speaking up, especially with this current climate of our politics.
You know what I'm going to do this week at work? I'm going to say something.
It was Dora Neale Hurston. She said, if you are silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. And so, I mean, I agree, because that was one of the things that I was thinking about, like, you know, what can women of color, African-American women do? I know where I work in higher education, so that is already very different than the private sector, which I'm sure most of you guys work. But even something as small as, you know, an African-American or women of color, or, you know, whatever your subgroup might be, but creating some sort of group at your workplace where, you know, people can get together, even if it's like for lunch every other Wednesday. Like, sometimes for people, just knowing that there are other people that are having that experience, to know that you're not alone, to talk with other seasoned people within the company that can kind of help you better navigate some of those spaces can be important. I mean, I think that's also one of the things that you can do on your workplace during this time, just to feel like you're not so alone. Dwayne, I'm interested, because that's like an experience that you can't necessarily have being the only African-American woman in your workplace.
When you were saying that, I was like, man, I would definitely love to group up with other African-Americans. I think before last month, there were 2 other African-Americans. We had one male, another female, and she was in accounting. Both are now gone, so obviously it's just me. But if I can't link up with other African-Americans, I could probably link up with other females, because that's at least one, I guess, aspect of being a minority that we have in common. But it's probably only about 8 females out of 100 people that work at my company.
Wow.
Yeah. When I tell you it is male dominated, it is male dominated. So things like it's convenient and hanging out with sorors and everything, that's kind of how I, you know, get the balance.
Yeah.
Another idea that I was thinking about is actually holding your supervisors accountable. And of course, everybody's workplace is set up different. But when we talk about equal pay and the pay gap and, you know, not receiving compensation that you should be receiving for your job, when it comes to you keeping your own records, when it comes to you making sure that you can go back to something that talks about your successes, your failures that year, the ways in which you've performed and outperformed, you know, expectations that have been set for you, all of those things are important for you, not only to keep for yourself, but so that when it comes time to talk about that performance review and it comes time to talk about raises, that you actually have something that you can go back to. You have something that can back up all of the work that you've done throughout the year. So then you can not just feel like you're asking for a raise, but feeling as though you're demanding something that you deserve. And I think even those small things are things that we can do on our job every single day to make sure that, well, you know, yes, there's an issue with pay, the pay gap and equal pay for men and women, but I'm doing what I can on my job to make sure that the money that I'm supposed to have, that I'm going after it. And I'm not going to wait for somebody to give that opportunity to me, that I don't have to be afraid to ask for a raise. Why? Because I have all of the documentation that I need that says this is why I'm supposed to have this.
That's a very good point. In which I've had to do myself a few times. I didn't necessarily write up my supervisor, but something to the effect in which we put procedures in place that we are both equally held accountable for our actions, and not just me held accountable and she gets to be the authoritarian when things go wrong that also involved her.
I think that's good, because oftentimes we see those in management roles or upper level executives. They always, I guess, have a process for writing people below them, but not necessarily a process for them making sure that they're held accountable in their position. So
Right.
I think that's something great that we can incorporate even in our own, workplaces and businesses.
See, my first supervisor was awesome that I've ever had, and she was a Black woman. Her name was Stella Cherry. Hi, Miss Cherry, if you're watching this. But even I remember the first day I started work, and I was young. Like it wasn't even work. It was internship, and I was 14 years old when I had my first internship, and it was at City Hall, like in this youth advocacy office. And I remember like the first day I came in there, and I was like, yeah, and I called her Thayla. And she looked at me and she said, "It's Miss Cherry." I said, "Okay." And at first, like,
It was a rude awakening, but she was like, "You're gonna put some respect on my name."
Okay.
It
Put some respect
but
on
it
it.
was like also knowing your role and like, okay, we can be cool, but we're not about to be best friends. Like, I'm gonna be your boss. I'm gonna be your manager. She kind of established that relationship to where, I called her Miss Cherry even after I stopped working for her, and, until I got grown, and still know her. But when I think about her, and she was a Black woman, I think about her and I'm just like, wow, like she was amazing. Like even everything we did, like it wasn't just an annual review. We had a weekly, we kind of discussed like some of my goals, my objectives, what I wanted to do in the future. She, everything was pretty much on point. Like if I brought something to her and it wasn't right, she'd be like, okay, fix this, go back and do this. Like that's the type of boss I like, not someone that's trying to be my friend.
Exactly. Because that's the only way that you'll grow. And even today,
it's the only way that you'll grow. But then it's also like when it comes to kind of not discipline, but when it comes to kind of laying down the law, then you won't feel, kind of, I don't know,
hurt or ambushed, because you've already established those rules and you have that relationship. So for instance, I have like a bi-weekly one-on-one per se with my direct boss. And we talk about those. We talk about, weekly performance, what I have going on, what I plan to do for our next, group or company meeting. Then also where he feels I should be within the company, and where he asks me weekly, where do you want to be? Like, where do you want to go within your role, and how do you think you can grow not only your personal life, but the company as a whole? And so I think having those weekly or bi-weekly health checks will not only keep you sane, but will keep you from going off and exploding, but also keep you from getting ambushed from, maybe like a pop-up written up that you weren't expecting. So,
and I think that's something that you can ask for. Like that doesn't have to be something that your supervisor decides is going to happen, or, that it comes down from that person. But you as an employee can say, I think I want to have a bi-weekly or a weekly, however often you want to have it, one-on-one, just so that you can talk about your performance or talk about upcoming things, like Dwayne says, so that when it comes down to it, when something happens, not only will those conversations hopefully help build rapport and a better relationship between you and your supervisor, but so that when things do happen, you guys have been talking about this in your one-on-ones every other week. And so you're not ambushed. You don't feel like, how did this happen to me? Or you're confused. Because again, you guys have been having these conversations. They keep notes, you keep notes, and you proceed from there. But that's something that you can ask for.
But like my current place of work, we have bi-weekly meetings, but it's nowhere as formal of how like I had it at other places. I don't know. It kind of gets complicated, like, but
I mean, each corporation, each business is going to be different just based upon your structure. But like I said, we're a smaller company, and so we're more flexible in some of the conversations that we can have.
I guess right now ours is a bit more lax because it's like, well, it's kind of like open door where my current boss like wants me to come and like talk to her, or if I have any problems or issues, like I can talk to her. But I don't know. It gets confusing.
I also think that one of the things we can do, and it's scary. It is. I'm sure not what somebody who's trying to establish a career or right out of college is trying to do, but create our own opportunities. Like whatever your business is, whatever your industry is, whatever you're into, not waiting for those opportunities from these big corporations, but creating that lane for yourself, and then encouraging other African Americans to support your business.
Exactly.
When we think about, to bring history into it again, the first African American woman who was a self-made millionaire did so in the early 1900s. Like, what? Like, being a self-made millionaire as an African American woman in the 1900s is crazy.
It was unheard of.
Like, every single time Madam C.J. Walker had the opportunity to talk, she talked to African American women about creating your own opportunities and creating your own access for yourself. And I think that's another avenue. Like, if you just can't make the strides and do the things that you want to do with a lot of these organizations in the private sector, create your own opportunity. We know that African American women, there was a study that was recently released saying we are the most educated group in the country by race and by gender. Like, we have the brains, we have the resilience, we have everything that we need to create these opportunities for ourselves. All we need is our community behind us to support us. And
we'll take off.
And that's all we need. Like, we're out here. We are literally out here. And it's sad to see that so many African American women are educated, but that supposedly the AAUW released a study that says we make up only 8% of private sector and 2% of that leadership. So it's obvious that even though we are the most educated group, that they're not giving us the opportunity. So create the opportunities for yourself and get your community to rally behind you and support. 2% of that.
And that's how we got here.
This is how we got here.
When it's convenient.
This is exactly how we got here.
Trying to create our own opportunities when, it seems like they don't exist.
That's right.
So
the guy.
We should definitely add him on this one. Let him see this platform for a change. So we're gonna kick it to DeWin. What do you got for us?
Okay, so for our first No Reservations, our relationship segment that will be weekly, highlighting not only your relationships with your friends, your significant other, but also relationships in the workforce. This week, I want to talk about HBO's Insecure. I know you all have seen it. The world has seen it.
We love it.
Season finale probably blew everybody out of the water. So
definitely gonna spoil it for me.
You all. Oh, well, sorry if this is a spoiler, but my question to you all, if you guys watched the season finale, was Lawrence in the wrong for not only moving out of Issa's apartment, but having sex with the bank teller?
Oh, no.
He was in the wrong. I'm going to say he was only in the wrong because he called her and was like, we need to talk. So, maybe we can talk when you get back. I miss you.
That's something that I don't understand that I think males do often. And I asked a guy friend about that because we were actually watching the ending together. And I said, what was the whole purpose of Lawrence calling Issa and then doing what he did? And he said he just wanted to check the temperature, wanted to see where she was at. Obviously, you know where she was at because she was waiting for you to stay. And so it's kind of like a game within a game that females and men play with each other. Like, Issa in the first place should have never cheated and had sex with Daniel. However,
all the spoilers.
All the way behind.
Sorry about that. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. But going back to that, Issa should have never cheated. But at the same time, Lawrence didn't make the situation any better. So I'm kind of on the fence as to whether he was right or wrong about his actions, but I think it's something that happens daily in society, especially among African Americans.
Okay, I have a question because you are spoiling for me and I haven't seen it. Is she aware that he cheated?
She is not aware.
Is he aware that she cheated?
Only the audience.
No.
Lawrence is not aware.
Lawrence is aware that Issa cheated. However, Issa is not aware that Lawrence cheated. We'll have to wait to season 2.
Okay,
well,
so
if he didn't cheat on her because they weren't together, they broke up.
Then I think it's fair game for him.
But if we're using that logic, then Issa didn't really cheat on him, because remember, she gave him like that half-ass, I don't really want to be with you, when she walked out the door that day. So technically,
are they officially broken up? Because Issa gave Lawrence the, I really just don't think we should be together. Like, I really don't want to be with you. And all Lawrence said was stop calling. So is it like, stop calling, get out of my life forever, or stop calling until I can clear my head and process everything?
No, he said don't call me anymore.
That's the latter. I think he needed to clear his head.
Well, he didn't. Well, he cleared his head. Which head? Because he cleared the wrong head.
I mean, I've been there. I've told people, I don't want to speak to you anymore.
I think we've all been there.
That really just meant for 24 hours. Life begins anew at sunrise.
I guess the question is, do you think Issa will take back Lawrence if he says, that time when we split up, or, I had sex with somebody else? Do you think she would forgive him?
Okay.
I think if Lawrence comes back and tells Issa the truth, because Issa didn't lie, she came out and she said it. She agreed to her actions. I think maybe, hopefully, because I'm team Issa and Lawrence, they get back together. I think they'll kind of be like, you know what, let's just call it a draw. Like, you did what you did.
Look at Brittany's face.
I'm not team Issa and Lawrence. I'm gonna be honest. Okay, so I don't necessarily think he cheated on her. I think when he realized he was about to pay for some sex, and I think that helped wake him up to the fact that, like, oh yeah, I got a girl that should be giving it to me for free. And I think maybe that's what prompted the call. But I think I'm gonna agree, if you guys are familiar with Demetria Lucas. I think her name is like Southern Belle or something like that. She wrote a book, used to work for Essence magazine. But she said she thinks that when Lawrence went home, that he was flooded with all of the feelings of, like, this was our place. This is where, this is where we spent time together. This is our home, and this place no longer feels right to me anymore. I think that's what made him pack up his shit and call old girl from the bank, like, what time is it? Like, hey, big head, hit her with that.
Right.
I think that's what led him to calling her initially, because he sounded super sincere. I miss you. Let's talk about things. And then it cuts to the scene of Issa coming home to nothing. And I do think that he went back to that place and was just, he couldn't do it. Like, he betrayed his trust, and he had every right to go out and do what he did, I think.
That is a very real feeling. I personally have felt like that, where the other person has done something and I'm trying to literally work through I guess,
the range of
aftermath
emotions
of their actions. And once you start thinking about it and start realizing it, and you're in that space, it becomes too much. So I guess now you saying that, I think I'm thinking about it in a different manner that I hadn't before. So
if you think Issa was already there, like already at the apartment when he came,
no. I think
it ended differently.
If Issa was there when he got there, I don't know that it would have ended differently, because obviously he wanted to talk, so he wouldn't have had to deal with those feelings in that house by himself. But I think ultimately for me, it didn't end in a way that I didn't want for it to end. Like, I am not team Issa and Lawrence. I think neither one of them really know why they want this relationship. I think both of them are holding on to the amount of time that they've invested into the relationship. Because if you remember, everybody became Team Lawrence by the end, but Team Lawrence was the same raggedy dude that like
Does he have a
didn't do
job yet?
anything for her birthday.
Everybody became Team Lawrence when Lawrence got a job and started wearing suits and started looking good.
Right. But they forgot that was the same guy that forgot her birthday. And so it's like, how much do you really care about her that regardless of what you have or what job you don't have, that you can't even make her birthday special? I want Lawrence and Issa to spend some time away from each other, do some dating. I want Issa to focus on her career. I want Lawrence to also do the same. And then maybe around season 3, if they want to connect, I might be open to an Issa Lawrence reconciliation. But right now, I'm good. I don't need to
Y'all need a whole
I was not Team Lawrence.
I don't want to see Lawrence season 2.
I want Lawrence to, focus on his app and maybe get that off the ground.
He should definitely start his own app.
All that. And I want him to leave the bank teller chase hoe alone. Because she is bad for business, bro. Like, she chased him.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate. Is she really bad for business, or is she bad for business because... But how, though? She's been nothing but supportive of him this entire time, and so-called unquote. That's what guys want, right? Someone who's supportive.
But being supportive of someone that already has a girlfriend, like, girl, you need to take several steps back. Like,
I don't think he knew that he had a girl until he came up to Best Buy.
No,
trying to take him.
No, when they were sitting there eating at the food court, when she came, they sat down at the food court. He mentioned his girl.
The only thing that bothers me about the bank teller is that she made it easier, in my opinion, just my opinion. She made it easier for her to only be the rebound chick. Like, I thought the bank teller was genuinely interested in him, and it's not that you can't. It's not that you can't sleep with a guy the first night and not still be genuinely interested, but I do think guys still hold on to, guys hold on to that silly stuff. Exactly. Like, guys hold on to that and they won't let you live outside of that box. And so I do think on her part, she misstepped. If she was actually trying to become something with Lawrence, she misstepped. And I don't think she should have slept with him the first time that he called her. Because I think that's just going to make it easier for Lawrence to look at her, put her in that box. And when he thinks about love and a woman he wants to spend his life with, he goes back to Issa because you haven't given him too much more than, a pep talk at the bank and some ass when he called.
And somebody made a good point. I'm not sure what I was listening to. I think it might have been The Read, but I could be wrong. But they were also saying, like, it's easy to support someone that, you don't have no other type of financial obligation.
Absolutely.
With. So, it's easy to say, like, oh, you can do it. Oh, yeah, start your app. That's great. But don't have no type of...
Because he ain't paying half your rent.
Right. I was going to say, that brings me to another point. Do you guys think you could actually be with someone and support someone for as long as Issa did and still kind of have the same feelings for them?
I will say I was actually on the other side of that, because when I moved to New York City, I was a very broke freelancer. And I happened to be in a relationship with someone who grew up wealthy. And so, not to say that they were like the main breadwinner and took care of me all the time, but they did allow me the opportunity to do other things besides sit in my room and freelance for a few bucks. And eventually I did get the job because she was supportive and was saying, like, you're going to get that job. Like, don't feel down. And then I became more of the breadwinner. And it actually strengthened our relationship than anything, because we had this kind of like a mutual struggle together, that even though it wasn't directly hitting her, it did affect her. And that's my 2 cents on the other side.
That was key word where you said you actually went out and tried to do something. I don't feel like he went out and tried.
I agree. I think at the point that we met Lawrence, he was like at his lowest of low. We don't know how long he had been, trying to develop this app or whatever. But when we met him, Lawrence wouldn't even like take an opportunity just so that he could have money. But then at the same time, he didn't really seem to be working on too much on his off time.
Right.
So
I literally had to push him to go to those job interviews, push him to do something.
And so what I will say about Issa, while I think her support looked different, because like D'Angela said, it had to. These bills are for real. So while I might push you to making this app, yes, that's what I want you to do. But I'm also going to push you to like just getting this 9 to 5 real quick so that we can pay these bills. And I think the job that he has now that seems to be a great fit, and he seems to be doing well. Everybody's looking at the bank teller like she, you know, really encouraged him to do something. But he was also getting the same encouragement from his girlfriend at home. It just wasn't necessarily the encouragement that he wanted. Because he very much wanted somebody to support him and push him to this app. And that's what the bank teller was doing, while, like I said, Issa had other things to think about. She had rent, the light bill, you know. So I think he was still getting support. It just wasn't the support he wanted. So I don't think we should look at Issa as if she didn't support her man through this time that he was having of wanting to be an app developer or whatever, because she was supporting him. It just wasn't the support that he wanted.
She was trying to support herself, like most
scenarios. Which is legitimate.
And that's fair.
Agreed.
And I think to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying about how they didn't know why they were together, in comparison to me being in that situation, because there was no growth on his end, she was the only one really growing as a person in between those two. And I feel like that also has an effect on how their relationship is, because she sees him every day in sweatpants while she is, you know, we saw her trying to create new ideas for her job.
Right.
And that was building her up as a leader and as a person. And she was having these new experiences with her friends while he was only talking to the gangster down the hall. And so I think when you're in those situations, you have to, where you're at the lowest, you have to show that you want some kind of growth, even if that isn't financially.
And when you want some kind of growth, you don't dip out with the dude from back in the day that you always wonder what the sex was going to be like. Like you can't dip back to that guy when
you can't be in reverse when you're trying to move forward.
You to him because he encouraged you to rap. Like, girl, what are you thinking? This dude is clearly like upset.
Which goes back to my point that neither Issa nor Lawrence know what they want. So I'm good, Lawrence. We don't need you for season 2. Thank you. You were awesome. We'll see you in season 3.
Well, we will see.
He'll be back because on the award shows that they've been having lately, and he's been like, you know, introducing like the nominees or whatever, you know, they keep introducing him as like one of the stars of Insecure. So it sounds like he'll be back for season.
I mean, it sounds, I'm almost positive he'll be back.
He'll be back. They'll run into each other at the local CVS again.
But yes, if they could just run into each other at the Rite Aid all of season 2, I'm good with that.
What if
they all 4 of them ran into each other?
No, I was gonna say, what if Issa run into Lawrence in the chase hole? Like,
oh no,
she's gonna be butthurt.
Right.
I definitely have to watch the rest of the season.
Especially since we ended the season with her and Molly on that couch and she was crying her eyes out. She's going to be butthurt if she runs into Lawrence and this teller at the Rite Aid.
Man, the ending scene with her crying on Molly's lap with that bottle of wine, I felt that. I feel like every woman has been there. They've been hurt. They've gone through the pain. Whether they've caused it or not, it still hurts. Ooh, Lord.
Still feel it.
Oh, man. I must just be really heartless because I haven't been there. That's
a whole other segment. We'll talk about emotions and feelings.
We'll make our way around
everything
in this whole relationship.
You'll
have your time, girl.
You guys, Fab, are you the friend that's like, why are you crying? Like, you need to stop. Like,
No, I give hugs.
Okay.
I give hugs.
Finally, someone who's less emotional than I am. That's good.
I am the awkward, like, less emotional friend. Like, I'm just like, oh, come give me a hug, but don't get it on my shirt. But come on.
That's exactly how I am. If I see someone crying, I'm just gonna look and be like, I don't know what to do. Like,
I don't know what to say. Like, girl, you need to snap out of it. Come on, let's go out.
I'm that friend, girl. What you want to do? You want to cry? Do you want to go find him? Do you want to call him? What you want to do?
Do you want to run it up?
Give me all of your emotions and I will match them. I'm here.
His bank account number. I got his social, his bank account number, girl. And I know
what you want to do.
Yeah,
That is funny. Now I know who I can call. Thanks, Brittany.
Absolutely.
He just Snapchatted. He at the gym, girl.
I'm happy to
That's
have
me.
you guys in my corner in case I ever go through any of these situations.
In case she start tripping, we got you.
We got y'all.
You know, I have a hit list. I have a hit list.
All
You
right.
guys are
Okay.
interested.
Let's blank that out before somebody come busting in that door behind you, babe.
Yo,
Let's just move over to Beauty and Style with Brittany. Brittany, what do you have for us this week?
Well, listen, 'tis the season to get your holiday gift set. Like, it's time. And you don't have to buy them for other people. Like, these are things that you want for yourself. Now is the perfect time to get that brush set, eyeshadow set, lippy set, like
yes, queen.
perfume set.
Girl.
Yes, now is the time to do it. So some of my favorites, if you go to colourpop.com, they have a bunch of holiday gift sets, and all the lights just became one of my favorite holiday gift sets. It's an eyeshadow palette. And this look was created for me by a local Oklahoma City makeup artist named Sierra Amir. If you look for her on Facebook, she does Wind Down Wednesdays where she does makeup on her Facebook channel. And she
I loved your holiday look.
So good. It was so pretty. So I am obsessed now with this all of the lights eyeshadow palette thing from ColourPop. Like I said, it's a part of their holiday gift set, so you gotta get it before the holiday season is over. And for all the MAC girls out there, MAC Cosmetics has, I know that's you, Danji. MAC.com has a bunch of different holiday gift sets. And what I like about their website is it's done by price point. So if you're looking for holiday gift sets under $40 or $25, you can just click that and find all types of options from lippies to eyeshadow, all kind of things. So 'tis the season to get your holiday gift set, not just for someone else, but for yourself.
So there is no reason why any of us can't get the woman in our life a gift, whether it's your mom, cousin, sister, auntie. Get them a cute lip set, because who doesn't want to slay for the holiday?
Exactly.
Oh.
So what we got next? That's you, Danji.
It's me. Okay, so we're moving on to our watching, listening, reading. What's the name?
Weekly roundup.
Oh, the weekly roundup.
All the above.
I didn't write it down, but the weekly roundup. So this is pretty much what we'll go around and we'll talk about. Each of us will talk about what we're currently watching, what we're currently listening to, we're currently reading, and something to leave you with for the week.
Who wants to start?
Who wants to start it off?
I'll go.
Okay.
Okay, so obviously what I'm watching, Insecure. Also, I just started Westworld on HBO.
Girl. Yes,
I know. Everyone at work has been talking about it, so they've pushed me to start the season. Queen Sugar was also a fave. I hope this winter is as good as fall was for Black television. Because Insecure, Queen Sugar,
Atlanta.
Yes, Get Down, everything. It's just been fantastic. Definitely shout out to Childish Gambino for Atlanta. Yep. Love all the shows. And so what I'm listening to, I live for a new Music Friday. And just yesterday, of course, everyone has been on J. Cole's For Your Eyes Only. But there were also some other releases that were good. That gave it a whole bit on us. Give it a second try. I listened to it 4 times. The first time, I was telling Brittany earlier, I hated it. The second time, I was like, okay, I like these 2 songs. The third and fourth time, I was like, wow, this story is great. So give it another try. But also, yesterday, Absol released his album, Do What Thou Wilt. Post Malone released Stoney. Definitely a smooth album to vibe with. If you're not a Post Malone fan, I definitely recommend this album because it doesn't even sound like him.
Oh, that's terrific.
Lloyd released his EP, True.
Is long hair Lloyd or short hair Lloyd?
long hair, sitting on a cliff, warrior Mandingo Lloyd.
Okay, I can
How
roll with
did I
that.
hear this?
Lloyd.
Because I wasn't for faded Lloyd. Wasn't for faded Lloyd.
Looking good. Yes, released true. I like his single. Also, The Dream released an EP yesterday. Love You to Death. And then, of course, Tech Nine released his album, The Storm. And it has 32 songs on it.
32?
You've been in the album every month recording. So
this is literally like Dipset 2001. Like 32 songs?
32 songs. I said, why? Why so many? But it's good because Lloyd in The Dream, they only have like 4 or 5 songs. So it's a good balance.
That's all I got for The Dream.
What you got for a quote?
For my quote, it's not necessarily a quote. It's more of a status that I saw on Facebook. And it is, this world would let you break your back until your exhaustion is an inconvenience. And I think that goes into play into what we were talking about earlier with being Black in the workforce and how trying to maneuver throughout the world with this Donald Trump presidency. And so that status just really hit home and literally something to ponder upon. Andy, do you have?
Okay. Uh-oh. Did you freeze? What'd you say? What was your last
one, girl?
Oh, my turn. Okay. So I'm currently watching and just got done watching a show called Chewing Gum on Netflix.
Yes.
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 Chewing Gum is so good.
So hilarious.
Tell me
My
what
girl
it's
is on the
about.
street, yo.
Okay. It's a girl that has grown up in like an overly...
Hold on, wait, pause. Are there Black people in it?
Yeah, all Black.
Okay.
The main
A
character.
Black British girl.
Yeah, it's a Black British girl that her idol is Beyonce. Is that Beyonce? Her idol is Beyonce. So, I like this. My favorite part. I cannot. Okay, but she just pretty much her mom is she Catholic? Her mom.
Her mom is a Catholic Nigerian woman who is extremely
very strict.
Oh, Lord.
Very
she got a lot going on. Okay.
And the girl that's the main character, I don't know the actress name. I have to look it up. She's beautiful, by the way. But she is like, since she's grown up in such a strict household, she doesn't understand like the idea of sexuality, but she's like horny. She's always horny. So she's trying to lose her virginity, but her idea of sex is like totally different than what it really needs to look like. So you just have to
licking them on the nose and forehead. Oh, girl.
And it's called the Chewing Gum?
Yes.
It's called Chewing Gum on Netflix.
Yeah,
Chewing
it's
Gum.
like
It's going on the list.
It's like 6 episodes, and you can watch it in like a day. It's hilarious. It's
a very
hilarious.
funny, raunchy comedy that you can watch like with your girl.
It's just our cup of tea.
Chewing Gum. It's on the list.
Yes. And of course, I just got my daily my dose of American Horror Story. I wasn't really crazy about this season because I just didn't know where they were going with it, but I still hold American Horror Story near and dear to my heart. Happy that they had quite a few Black characters on there this year. Of course, my auntie Angela was still on this season. So she's
everybody's auntie.
I'm actually named after her because that's my but Angela Bassett just still looks flawless. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've been watching. As far as listening, I did listen to J. Cole For Your Eyes Only like for half the day yesterday at work. Even went on Rap Genius the like 4th time around for the annotation of the lyrics, which makes me appreciate music even more.
Go technology.
And of course, for the holiday season, my playlist on Pandora is The Soulful Christmas.
Yeah!
King Cole and you know, of course, you hear Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You. I can play that like over and over again.
It is the ultimate Christmas song. It will never die.
On the way to work, I've been playing Christmas instrumentals and just singing to myself in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
It's the time of year to do so.
I'm a little flat, but you know, I'm working on it. And then of course, just listening to all my podcasts weekly. So the Read, Brilliant Idiots. I know we kind of called that Charlemagne, but I still love Brilliant Idiots. This episode is great. I need Neck of the Woods to release something. Like, where they at?
Oh my gosh, Neck of the Woods.
Where they at? Where is Sir Ratchet?
Where is Sir Ratchet and Freshalina?
Yes, where are they? I've been like refreshing my podcast screen, thinking that they gonna pop up with a new episode.
We're just waiting.
They need sponsors.
Yeah. So that we can see them regularly.
That's why.
Let's just sponsor them. Like I can take go on the Color Pop and buy them a gift set or something.
we get Shea Moisture over there.
Right. And then I'm currently reading The Story, which is pretty much it's like the Bible, but it's more in story form. So it has Bible verses at the bottom of the page to kind of show you the reference of like different biblical stories, but it just puts it like all in one. So it doesn't feel like the wording's more easier to understand. So let me see if I have it.
Oh, she goes back into the cupboard for this one.
This is live for sure.
So The Story, you can get it off of Amazon. And it's by Max Lucado and Randy Frazee. So I got mine on Amazon. They have like a lot of used copies for like $6. And I will be honest and say that I'm only on chapter 2 because when you do read the Bible, you get really sleepy.
That's the devil.
I read it.
That's the devil coming for you.
And then I took like a whole 5-hour nap and was like, oh my God. So yeah, I just got done with chapter 2. So it's really nice. And
your quote?
My quote is really just kind of what we talked about just in the workplace, but just in life in general. It's just work hard for what you want because it won't come to you without a fight. You have to be strong and courageous and know that you can do anything you put your mind to. If somebody puts you down or criticizes you, keep on believing in yourself and turn it into something positive.
Nice.
Bell.
Yes, for the positivity.
Ab, what you got?
What do I got? I have been listening to the new Childish Gambino, Awaken My Love.
Yes.
Do you like it?
I do like it. I'm not a Childish Gambino fan by any means. The only song I liked, I can't even name a song I liked before this. Crawl, maybe. But Awaken My Love, I really like the vibe of the Bootsy Collins, funkadelic, soulful feel.
It was very funk-like.
It really shows me what I'm going to feel like when I have a child in the world. I think I'm going to transcend this ratchetness that is inside of me into this smooth Al Green version of myself. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed that project. And another thing that I'm listening to go back to our earlier segment with politics it's Trumpcast. It was only supposed to be during the election season to help listeners understand the travesty it would be for Trump to become president. But since
because no one thought he would become president.
Exactly. And now since he is president, Slate has extended Trumpcast to cover his entire presidency. But what it does is give you insight on his cabinet, who he is as a person, and his personality traits and how that affects everyone. And it dissects different arenas that it's going to affect us in, from his diplomatic relationships, his business relationships, and his relationships on identity politics. And so I definitely highly recommend that to anyone who wants to understand Trump. And a little bit of it takes away some fear because now you know the enemy. So highly recommend.
I think that's good. I'll definitely try to tune in because I was reading just yesterday that Trump has only nominated 13 of 21 of the cabinet level positions. And I'm sure one of the most controversial is his education nominee, Betsy DeVos. And her stance on charter schools and taking funding away from public inner city schools, putting them towards schools that just take money out of the inner city. So it'll be interesting to see who his cabinet level positions are. Most of them, if you do your research, have donated to the Trump campaign. So it's interesting how people who donated millions of dollars are now,
now have cabinet positions.
Money and power is what's feeding and fueling the Trump presidency.
He literally drained the swamp into the Oval Office.
I mean, what was the point of all of that?
Literally.
If you learn anything from Trump, don't trust him. Do not trust him. But in some brighter news, they are doing a federal investigation into Russia's involvement into his campaign and how it affected our election. Obama is spearheading it and wants to do to his desk before he leaves office.
Good.
And
I'm going to miss them.
And there is a large amount of evidence that it did affect the election. I don't know what that says for Hillary, but if anyone is taking heed to Obama taking a stance against this, we should also hold off on the electoral vote next week. But that's just wishful thinking. Just wishful thinking. And I'm going to leave with the quote, because my theme for our political segment was improvising, is a quote by FDR: "Do what you can where you are with what you have."
Fair enough. That's all anyone ever asks of anyone, is to do what you can.
Okay, so this week I'm going to be watching The Trans List. This is an HBO documentary where Janet Mock is one of the producers.
Love Janet.
Famous, beautiful, talented Janet Mock. Can we just...
Oh, she's so beautiful.
Spend some time. Can we just spend a little time?
God.
In adoration of Janet Mock. She's so incredible, the trans activist, and more importantly, an activist for trans women of color. So I really appreciate the work that she does, but she's one of the producers of the HBO documentary, The Trans List. So I'm one of those people that knows that trans issues and a lot of the climate for trans people and domestic terrorism, all of the things that they face, I can definitely be more educated and get more information. So I'm actually really, really excited to watch The Trans List. Another thing that I've already watched is the J. Cole documentary over his album For Your Eyes Only.
Yes.
I really enjoyed it. So I've been telling my boyfriend Brandon about how J. Cole reminds me of Beyonce, where he really only talks to his fans in the form of documentaries. So I like the opportunity to get some insight into the whole process of what it's like to create an album. I mean, it's crazy that how meticulous he is about the way the music sounds, which I guess makes sense because he's a producer rapper. So,
but that's what makes us appreciate it. Him
Absolutely.
and Beyonce, the way they listen to the music in their car, in their headphones, in the studio, it all comes into play when I'm listening to it at my desk. Like, I can hear the percussion, I can hear the bass, I can hear literally his soul speaking through his
Absolutely.
lyrics.
Everything that he wanted to get across, it definitely resonates when you hear it. And you can tell by the amount of time and dedication. And like I said, just being so meticulous about the way his music sounds. So I really, really enjoyed the documentary. That actually goes right into what I'm listening to. I've listened to the album once and I like it. I like it. I mean, it didn't give me the same feelings that 2014 Forest Hill Drive gave me immediately, but I am going to be listening to it all week long because I'm just sure I'm going to love it by the time I get to the fourth listen. As Joanne says, I'm going to love it. So I'll be listening to that. I am still on a high from Dram's album, Big Baby Dram.
He's underrated.
So good.
He is underrated.
Do you know?
Boy, I got Wi-Fi.
I will always be a fan of Dram because he will sing some of the most ratchet lyrics so melodically, like
just in a way that makes your soul melt while he's telling you.
Yes, like in a way that makes you be like, boy, what you talking about? But I like it, and I'm gonna keep vibing with you because I like it. Like it's just a good mood album.
I just love the texture.
Makes a lot of sense.
I love the texture of his voice. It's just, Dram is good. If you haven't listened to Big Baby Dram, put that on your list this week. You have to listen to it. What I'm reading, so, I forgot to mention Another Round. If you guys are interested in more of Janet Mock, the podcast Another Round, they interviewed Janet Mock this week talking about the trans list. But the Another Round has a weekly newsletter that they send out, and they talk about some of the things that they're reading, and one of which was an article from GQ.com, and it's just different people telling their print stories. It was so fascinating and intriguing that I read it like just a couple times while I was at work on Friday, just people recounting these unicorn, this unicorn that we know as Prince, and these weird magical experiences they've had with him. So that's what I'm reading this week. And my quote for the week is going to come from a state representative from the state of Oklahoma. Her name is Cindy Munson. I went to undergrad with her, and she's just a really, really incredible woman who believes in fighting for women and equality for all people. But she had this quote on her Facebook one day: "Take a deep breath. You're doing all right. You're doing better than you think. Give yourself credit. No matter what you do, do your best and let go of the rest. Everything is and will be just fine." And this quote has saved me from spiraling emotionally out of control several times. So I think I'll be taking this quote in with me to next week, that I can just take a deep breath and everything is going to be just fine.
I love it.
Okay, great. So this is the end of our first episode.
We completed it. Yes.
It's still so good to have our first episode completed. It's been a lot of planning, a lot of meeting up, a lot of missing each other, a lot of scheduling. It's been good. I love it.
And I don't know about our viewers, because we're a bit biased, but I think we did an exceptionally well job done for our first episode.
Absolutely.
Continue to tune in. I'm sure we'll keep you updated when our next one hits. We will, and hopefully we'll get more viewers now that you guys see that we're doing this live as well. So this is straight like unfiltered,
unedited, raw, and uncut. So
train of thought, if we might slip up and say lying instead of telling a story, I'm sorry, not sorry. But just know, this is authentically raw footage to say, okay, we just want to keep it real and just give you guys the realness. So nothing filtered, just straight funny. So
you can hit us up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you guys?
Yeah, on our Gmail, whenitsconvenientshow@gmail.com. If you want to submit something for the relationship segment, you can absolutely send your questions to whenitsconvenientshow@gmail.com. If you have some things that you think it would be interesting for us to talk about, send us some ideas to our Gmail, and we will absolutely put it on the lineup.
And Brittany, where can followers follow you?
You guys can find me on Facebook at my name, Brittany Carradine, BrittanyCarradine, and on Instagram, just be Carradine. Follow me. I'd love to connect with you guys. Tell us what you think about our first show. And like I said, hit us up on our Gmail, whenitsconvenientshow@gmail.com, if you're interested in submitting a question for the relationship segment, or if you have some ideas.
Joanne, what about you?
You guys can follow me on Instagram and Snapchat at Bendito8. Before you even ask, that means blessed in Spanish. You can also follow me on Facebook at DLene Evans. So like Brittany said, definitely give us feedback about our first episode, and I can't wait to hear from you guys.
And Fab.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at JVZZI. And you can also follow my blog, Brave New Urban. It's mindfulness and productivity for the thug in us all.
Yeah.
So come learn some pointers on how to keep the zen and to have a productive time in the world as a thug.
As
As a thug.
I need that, you know what I'm saying?
I'm the Buddha badass.
Gang, gang.
Amy, where can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook, D'Angela. So D'_Angela Johnson. You can also.
She's newly married.
Bow, bow. So, and I do have a selective audience on Instagram and Snapchat. So just depending on the content that you have on your page,
you can follow me become her friend. Follow
you can follow me on Instagram at Miss, so MS Coco, COCO lady. Or you can follow me on Snapchat, Miss Coco J and the number 3. The J is for Johnson. So that's all that we have for you guys today. Thanks for hanging out with us. Just clicking on the link to view us. If you made it this far and you still smiling, because I know y'all are watching this,
congratulations.
Just picture what's next to come. You know what I'm saying? So just connect with us, and we're excited. I believe we're all excited. Well, I know we're all excited about, just like we said, having that platform and just coming to you guys, just straight unfiltered. So
share the video, share it with the people on your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Let Charlamagne the God know that African American women are woke and we are creating platforms.
And him.
Yes.
I'm so mad. We listen to him, listen to us. Like, this is not, we're not even on Twitter. The only person on Twitter is Fab. So we wasn't even people.
And I'm coming for you,
right. You know what I'm saying? Like, we wasn't. I listened to Brilliant Idiots and just this last episode. Just want to let you know we weren't the ones coming for you on Twitter, but we got the message loud and clear.
Yes,
so
we did.
You're gonna see us and be like, donkey of the day.
Look,
but you know what? That's okay, Charlamagne. That is okay.
He is a donkey of the day.
Flip spray.
Yes.
So on that note, if we don't, does anybody have anything else to add?
I'm good.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Stay blessed. Benito.
Bye, everyone.